So recently, a bunch of unaired pilots found their way online, dating back to the 90s. What I want to do is look at these pilots and determine two things. 1. Did it have potential? And 2. How different would popular culture be if this pilot was picked up for series? Today we're opening up the pilot vault and looking at the pilot for a show called I Shudder. Now, back in 2014, we had a great year of TV. So many great shows came out. Forever, Silicon Valley, the first seasons of True Detective and Fargo. It was such a good year for television. And among these great shows came two comedies on two different networks, NBC and CBS. The first one was The Michael J. Fox Show, a decent enough comedy that was worth tuning in each week, just to spend a little time with Michael J. Fox. And the other was a brilliant comedy series starring Robin Williams, The Crazy Ones. This was his first TV show since Mork and Mindy. Now, I loved that show. Me and my sister still regularly quote it. But one of the strongest things about The Crazy Ones were the actors, and nobody stood out more than Hamish Linklater. Well, the pilot we're looking at today was made for the season where the second season of The Crazy Ones would have aired, had it not been cancelled. In it, Linklater stars as the eccentric Elliot Vianette, an advocate of manners, style, and most importantly, common decency. Observing people committing heinous crimes of etiquette, he tries to counsel them from afar, inserting himself into their lives in the most unwelcome way. So, going into this, I was pretty excited. A vehicle for Linklater to make it big. Sure, I'll check that out. Let's give it a watch. We start with Elliot picking out his ties. There's no writing on them like there was when Rex was picking out his tie in Rex Is Not Your Lawyer. He goes to the elevator in his building, but finds that it's full of screaming children. So he decides to wait for the next one. We then learn that Elliot is a substitute teacher in Manhattan, and already the way he's delivering his lines is very slow and precise. He definitely got to know this character well. I'm just surprised he's playing it so unlike himself. But then again, I shouldn't be surprised by that, should I? Headline: an actor does some acting. Some guy in the park is sick into his dinner. I won't play the clip because it's disgusting and I'm genuinely feeling a bit woozy after seeing it the first time, but it wouldn't surprise me if that shot alone was the reason why it wasn't picked up. You can't be showing that to Americans eating the dinner while they're chilling watching TV. It's just horrible. We really don't see him being a substitute teacher very much in this. He's in like the classroom for like a minute total. Imagine you get the chance to have Jack Black as your sub, and then you get this guy instead. We're introduced to Helly Tesla, who is like the opposite of Elliot. She's loud and very New York. She answers a call during a play, shouts at taxi drivers. She's got no etiquette at all. Elliot is watching TV when a TV psychic comes on screen and talks about Elliot, saying that he will be the one who saves everyone by teaching them etiquette. He takes this as a sign. I just take it as lazy writing, really. We meet some of Elliot's neighbours and they're just pantomime levels of rude. They're horrible to their maids and their daughter. Honestly, they don't feel like real characters at all. It's really poorly written. These writers have never heard of subtlety. This family's daughter, Stella, goes to visit Elliot because her dad stole his newspaper and she wants to return. Honestly, I don't know why she doesn't get weird vibes from Elliot. I get serial killer vibes from him. He's really creepy. This is even complete with some American Psycho style narration. I'm telling you, this guy isn't an etiquette coach, he's a serial killer. Elliot bumps into Lucy, a paramedic who he once married. They were only married for a day and they never really explain it, but yeah, this is it. She doesn't have much to do in this.
Sometimes I dream your apartment is on fire and I save you.
But do you remember what happened?
Don't say it.
It was tragic.
It was painful.
I shudder.
I know.
I suppose this was before Suicide Squad, where such a thing was memed to death anytime someone forced its title into conversation. Elliot then decides to save Helly, despite, that she doesn't need or want saving. I suppose he were going for like a My Fair Lady sort of thing. Sure, go on. It's not like Selfie tried and failed to do that a year prior, is it? Elliot calls Helly and is really creepy. He tells her he knows she's in the back of a taxi and that he will hold her dress hostage until he comes to see her. Honestly, if this episode ended with him murdering her and this had just been a knockoff You the entire time, then I wouldn't be surprised at all. Listen to some of this terrifying dialogue.
It's me. And I bet right now you're at work, sitting in your cubicle, scrolling through a catalog of especially sad little shrunken crop tops that will flatter no one, yeah?
How are we meant to support this guy? He is bloody terrifying. She almost does the right thing, but then she messes it up.
I'm hanging up.
Oh, no, you're not.
One of his demands to her is that she has to walk home without listening to music, and instead take in the surrounding beautiful city of New York. She listens to him and takes out her earphones on the way home for some reason, and as she's walking through the city, they play a song over it. So apparently she has to follow these arbitrary rules, but the shots aren't beautiful enough for us to see it without music. That is so annoying. They literally had one job and messed it up. What's all this about appreciating the glory of New York without the music in your ears? If you can't show it us without music, it's ridiculous. That's a major L for this show. How? It reminds me like in Fight Club, where they made a reference to how modern bombs don't tick. And then in the end of the movie, there's a ticking bomb. It's like, how do you miss the point of your own fiction? Stupid. Fuming. Elliot seems to be psychic, because this is genuinely the only reason why he's able to tell exactly what Helly is up to and surrounded by. Right down to the type of jeans the guy at the bar is wearing. He can't see her. There's literally no other explanation other than he's psychic and he just knows. This guy is just Mr. Monk meets Sean from Psych. Helly arranges to meet Elliot in the park where she slaps him. Good. He deserves it. He has no right to be interfering in her life. Mind your own business. The guy Helly hooked up with the night before asks her to marry him after they had known each other for one day. Elliot seems surprised that she said no. She's obviously fuming that he's trying to help, so just don't listen to him. You don't have to. She says a couple of interesting things to him. She says, "I will get you arrested," which is good. She's finally onto something. He stole her dress, her property, and is blackmailing her to get her to do what he wants. You can go to the police about that, but then she ends a sentence with, "for trying to help." No, that's not a charge. Theft and blackmail is. I get that they're trying to be funny, but it's just bizarre. How can she be so close and yet so far? I hate dumb, unrealistic characters. There's nothing worse. It just feels like lazy writing. She then finishes off her rant by saying, "You can't even help yourself." And, well, how does she know that? She doesn't. The writers just wanted her to say it because they wanted it said. Now that is lazy writing. Helly is then hit by a bus and dies. Yeah. Such a bizarre end to the episode. Stella, the little girl from down the hall, tells Elliot that he has to keep trying to help people. And once again, how does she know? How do these characters keep knowing stuff that they shouldn't? So each episode of this show, if it was picked up for series, would follow Elliot attempting to My Fair Lady a different person. Is that enough for a show? I don't know. Probably not. Don't get me wrong, Hamish plays it very well. He's incredibly likable, even when playing this terrible person. And believe me, Elliot is terrible. He's manipulative and selfish, and not someone I was rooting for in the slightest. Elliot goes to Helly's grave and calls her to hear her voice over the voicemail. We hear the phone ringing in her grave. This humour is very dark, isn't it? It's really weird. Elliot then finds a new person to help, ending this pilot on a bit of a cliffhanger. But honestly, it wasn't enough. I've got no real interest in seeing him save or try to save more people. Honestly, I know I've slated it a lot, but this pilot was fine. I see why it wasn't picked up, but I also think the network who made it, TV Land, were moving away from scripted TV around this point, so it was probably a combination of this being a bit too weird and bad timing for, this never being picked up. So, where do we rank this among the other unaired pilots we've talked about? Well, it certainly wasn't anything special. Hamish was great, but other than him, this pilot was pretty forgettable. I'm looking at the middle to lower end of things. It was better than Playing Chicken, and maybe The Bridget Show. Yeah, I'll stick it between there and Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. Maybe I was a bit harsh with this one, I don't know. I had high hopes for it and was ultimately